Well, happy 4th of July, all. Here's my solo practice video for today. Nothing terribly exciting. You guys watched me playing with this yesterday. I'm just going to keep working with it until I'm happy with where I've gotten to on it today. Well, I'll be doing this for a while. So. So this is my interesting question for me. Now, this may be because of time spent doing Georgian, but this hunch is very natural to me. The strong hip hinge. What we see in Marazzo, in fact, tends to be very upright. Right? So you'll see, guard held, something like this. Which is cool, but when I do this, right, this shield covers me roughly from the waist to a little below my shoulder. The stance that I tend to take with the shield naturally is less upright. Less good in heavy plate, and maybe that's the difference. The Kevser tended to fight in mail, maybe with a bit of plate. As did most warriors from the time of shields being a big deal. There might be some plate, but most typically shield went with mail. And for whatever reason, when I look at shield, my default stance tends to be to come in. Right, if I'm in here, I've shrunk. This is now covering me essentially from the knee to the neck. And it's relatively sane to take. Right, if I'm here. Now, the other thing about this is when I take this, even in harness, I'm not, my body is still above my center of gravity. I'm not leaned forward, right? You guys see the difference? Right? So, here's where I am. This would be a forward lean that's problematic, right? This is okay. Something like this is more the upright we expect. But look at, from this side, how much of me this covers, right? From here to here. I know it's not what Marazzo shows, but I need to understand why. Because, frankly, this upright thing with the shield and sword feels suboptimal to me. I need to understand why it's what we're shown. I don't think harness is enough to account for it. I mean, I'll put on my plate later and do the same thing, just half harness, just the upper torso and see. which would be akin to more of what you'd see used among the Bolognese fighting like this. You know, this wasn't exactly a style meant for, you know, full-on harness. But what I do find interesting to think about is how my covers work. I wish I had another person here, because there's a couple of things to note. It's a temptation when we fence to come close in behind the shield, right? Like this, where it's covering from knee to neck, right? And that alone isn't good enough. This is better. Why? And to answer that, we need to think about angles. Let me grab some stuff to show. Thoughts. All right. So, my trusty post, driver, and this. Now, if I hold this in close, right, I'm here. If I hold this out, right now, this, right, the same thing, right, if I take this here and then just push this farther out, when I push it farther out, that angle gets wider. So if I want to cover myself, and the biggest area, I stick the shield out, right? We know this. We do this in Georgian, right? We project that buckle forward to cover us. And I think the same thing holds true with the shield, right? This covers a lot of me. This covers more of me. Boom. And with this, I've also got other options, right? We see this a lot in Bolognese. I'm in here like this. I can also come here, right? You literally cannot see my blow. Boom. Boom. It could come from anywhere. It's not visible the same way. I am starting to come to the conclusion that where the Georgian guard puts our hands together and holds this to take the line, Bolognese has their own variant, which is much more thrust oriented and puts our point forward with our shield, or our buckler if I had it, right? But if I'm here, it's going to take me some practice to make that cover. All right, what am I doing with this? All right, I'm here, covering my right with the rotella. This is something that Bolognese doesn't seem to do much, but some of the more transitional stuff, sort of between Vadi and the true Bolognese Darty school, seems to cover. Some things that we see highlighted in pre-destreza Spanish, or vulgar destreza, as Tim Rivera would put it. I'm still not as sold on the static buckler. There are places where Marazzo tells us to move the buckler, even though that's not where it's shown in any of the, or where he tells us to move the shield as well. Although that's not what's shown in the guards, other than one case where we see it across the body, which makes good sense. There are times when this is exactly what I want. I want to protect my vitals, right? This kind of covers me crotch to throat. But as much as possible, we project forward. Now, I recently had a really good conversation with one of my Georgian friends regarding how the Kevser used the buckler. To the point where they made fun of the lowland Georgians who were up there trying to learn from them for, as they put it, holding the buckler like it wasn't there, putting it out static and not moving it. This is very much like what most people who study Marazzo do, right? The buckler or the rotella comes out and it stays there, right? It gets held like this or like this and it just stays. And everything else happens around it, and this is a static position. And the longer and the deeper I think about it, the less I think that that's actually what is being asked for in Marazzo's work, let alone in that of the other Bolognese masters. I have to go digging and see what evidence there is to support my claim other than my vague gut feelings, which, as we all know, don't make for historical fencing. They just make me look like an idiot. But I want to think about this, and I want to think about the same sequence. And again, I wish I had a second person here because it would make this clearer. But, all right, if I'm here, right, and this is a static position, right, I make these cuts and strikes, and everything comes around. But a static defense is easily evaded. This has to be able to move to be any good at defending. So let's think about how we turn this from static into an active defense, because it's big and it's heavy, right? So what do? Well, there are a couple of places where I can change, right? From here to here, right? I can change one side or another, lower, raise. We know this sort of position was used, right? If there's arrows arching down, better to put the shield up, right? And yet when we see this, right, that's again, you don't see people walking into a hail of arrows like this. Instinctively we crouch. Although against the hail of arrows, this alone might actually be better. We're a smaller target for something descending. But if I want to make it more mobile, how do I do that? Right, I'm here. Right. Boom! I am covered, head to ankle. Right, with my sword on target. Bam! Back into the target. Maintaining my covers.